you're obsessed with the Connie Fife Show. It's about a lifestyle shift to move up or out.
Hey, what's your jam? What's the one thing that really drives you? What makes you unstoppable?
It's about opening a new door to live your dream.
People give up way too early on their dreams.
It's about enjoying the journey. It's about keeping it real.
Damn, now the interviewee is interviewing the interviewer. I like this.
It's all about you.
I knew there was something else I wanted to do. Stop taking shit so seriously. Y'all can do this. Take an outrageous look at life and laugh.
This is the Connie Fife Show.
We love your voice. We love your jam. You need to be on radio.
And now your host, Connie Fife.
Hey, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva and the host of the Connie Fife Show. Now, if you're in the C-suite and contemplating your next move, it's either going to be up or out. And that's what we do. We work with executives that are ready to transition from the C-suite to their next career as a lifestyle entrepreneur and scale that business, grow that business. So we are a business radio show. A little edgy. We get a little bit unscripted and unedited at times. So just letting you know, forewarned ahead of time, because we are heard everywhere. The Connie Fife Show is just heard everywhere. We're hitting, it's a new year. We're hitting new numbers. We are now in 155 countries on 210 networks. I mean, our listener base is just a mere 5.5 million listeners each month. And we just continue growing. So stay tuned, because you just never know who we're going to have on the show, because we just have phenomenal guests every week. And this week is no different, because our guest plays, I like this guy because he plays by a different set of rules. And if you know me, I don't follow those rules. I follow a dotted line, and you never know where they're going to go. He's accomplished. He's a best-selling author in personal finance and money thinking. Now, we could all use a little bit of that type of mindfulness. He's the host of the Transformation Nation podcast, author of Unicornomics, say that a couple of times, and Black Belt Wealth. He's also an owner of 30 companies, not one, not two, but 30 companies, and founder of his own martial art, and I hope I'm saying this right, Aikido, and I'll have him pronounce it correctly when he comes on. And so you just don't want to miss with this guy. But he outrightly rejects regret, and he speaks to it as his ultimate life failure. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the Connie Fife Show, Damian Lupo.
Hello, Connie. It's good to be here. I'm glad everybody's here listening, and I can't wait to drop some mics all over the place.
All right. So tell me the martial art, how badly did I say that? You
eviscerated it. It's Aikido. Yeah, it's a blend of yoga and Aikido and Reiki. So it's about relationship and releasing tension and connecting with people. It's a little bit different than really anything out there. It's sort of strange, because when you develop your own martial art, if you're also in the business world, I think there's a reflection of the art inside martial art, inside the business. So that's the teaching that I do, whether it's mentoring or building companies. Yokido is in every one of those things. So if you ever do business with me, you'll actually experience Yokido in our conversations and in our interactions. It's kind of wild when one is the same as everything else.
And I love hearing you say that, because I so agree with that. In my programs, I like to bring a lot of that in, because it just brings so much positive energy, and especially when we're talking about finances, because that is such a taboo topic that a lot of people don't even want to go there. And because, in my former life, I was a financial advisor, and I'm able to just hit that head on. But I do find a lot of people are really reluctant about having those conversations. So you talk about financial freedom in your book. You talk about, freeing people from money bondage. And I just thought that was so interesting. And I wanted to go right there because of the fear of talking about finances and money. How are you, because that is your mission, how are you freeing people from money bondage?
Well, what we're doing is we're going right to the core. I'll give you an example of somebody that I worked with about a year ago that came to me and heard me talking about some retirement strategies and things. And so you've got financial advisory background, and there's a lot of people that have financial advisors. What we tend to not have is somebody that's going to drill into the truth and do a root canal on our financial statement, like a really hardcore one. So what I'm really good at, and what we do, is ask really hard questions. So this guy came to me and he said, "Hey, I have a problem money wise. I'm in commercial real estate. I make about $800,000 a year." And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" He said, "Well, I've got $5 million. I'm 43 years old, and I need to make more money." And I said, "Really?" And so now all of a sudden people are listening going, "Wait a second. I have $5 million. What's
wrong with him?"
it's the money thinking. It's the psychology. It was the questions. He wasn't looking at things because all he had was his lens. And we all have a different lens. If we're a C-level operator inside of a big company or a small company, we've been operating with that perspective. And so transitioning out, it's a totally different world. It's a different set of questions. So we started asking questions like, okay, explain to me why you need more money, why 800,000 or why 5 million isn't enough. And what I find is that if we haven't asked the right questions, it's never enough money. It's having 2 or 3 or 5 million. Never going to be enough because we're afraid. We're afraid we're going to run out and die because we're going to starve to death. We don't understand what to do.
That scarcity, mentality, and that comes from a lot of from their nurturing, even and where they come from. So how were you able to help somebody who has $5 million sitting in the bank?
Well, we started asking the question. I did this when I was writing Reinvented Life years ago. The question I asked before that book, when I was in therapy for 2 years, this is after I lost $20 million. And I went, okay, what's wrong? The wrong was me. I need to rewire. And so I asked, what is true? And so I asked that of anybody, whether it's in the books, whether it's in the one-on-one or whatever I'm doing. I'm always asking, what is true? There's no way to get out of the truth if you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at your calendar. And that's why most people don't want to share those, because it's incredibly vulnerable. It's like being naked in front of somebody.
Yeah, you're opening your kimono.
Oh, the kimono is opened wide.
You're like bearing it all.
That's it. And so I think a lot of people go and they look for help, but they're not ready to actually get the truth. And that's the problem. They go, well, it didn't really help me. It's like, because you weren't ready to be vulnerable and open. So when somebody comes in, we ask the question, what is true? What does your life really look like? Are you just doing more for the sake of more? Like, what is it that you want? And getting clear on that. And then what does that cost? And what are you really doing? Like this, one of the clients had about a $5,000 a month wine habit. I like wine too, but you know what? Is it worth you having to work the rest of your life for a $5,000 wine habit? And if it is, great. Let's figure out how to do that so that you're not sweating to make the money for the wine.
Yeah. And are you enjoying that wine, or is it just sitting in your wine?
I think it's a habit. Like these habits drive us. At one point I had a $75,000 per month overhead, and I had a Ferrari, but that was $2,000. So where's the other 73,000? And it was because I was unconscious. And part of the process is going from unconscious incompetence to a place where we're consciously competent, and then we shift into unconscious competence. We go through this whole phase where people are going through motions and habits and rituals that serve them versus the ones that are keeping them in shackles.
Wow. So what should somebody do? I mean, that are kind of feeling whether they have $5 million in the bank or $5 in the bank. And what can they do to change that mindset? I mean, is it going to a financial advisor? I mean, what's going to help them get over what's holding them back?
So let me just make a really profound statement that nobody has any answers that are going to matter to you as much as the ones inside you. And the only reason that you don't know what those are is because you don't have the right questions being asked yet. So what I'm going to suggest, the first step is that you need the right questions. How do you get them? I'm going to give them to you, and I'll do that. I created a workbook. It's around the reinvention process, and this is all, it's numbers and experience. So if you want a copy of it, you can download it on your phone, and you just text the word unicorn to 72,000. And it'll give you this workbook. The workbook has the exercises, the questions, drilling into your truth, because you have the answers. I mean, you're listening right now and you're going, well, what's the answer? well, I'll tell you what the question is. I don't know what the answer is. And if a financial advisor says, here's the answer, that's probably not true.
You want to run out the door.
Yeah, they don't have your hand. That's what keeps you trapped, because you're putting your power in somebody else's hands.
Okay.
And well, to empower ourselves, we've got to be willing to go into the truth that's inside us, not abdicate responsibility and say, oh, answer my question for me. That's BS.
Yeah. You have to find it inside you. So where does someone then find that financial freedom?
One word. The word is confidence. It has nothing to do with cash. It's not cash flow. If I handed you right now $5 million, you'd be like my client. Unless you already have 5 million and you're already feeling free. If you're not feeling free right now and I handed you 5 million, I guarantee the stress would actually increase and you would be less free because you'd be nervous. And if I handed you an apartment that was giving you $25,000 a month in residual income, you'd think you were free, but you wouldn't feel free because you wouldn't know how to get that thing if it ever went away. So how do you get to freedom? You build the confidence muscle by going through the motions. And that's where people look at work as a 4-letter word and they won't go through the motions. They go, oh, I don't want to do the work. I want the 4-hour work week hack. I want to listen to Tim Ferriss. And I go, I like Tim, but here's the problem.
I like Tim too, but I have a but at the end of that too.
That's just the problem. We all want to just like hopscotch and leapfrog over the actual work that builds the confidence muscle. You can't go and get a 6-pack if you look through the window of the gym. You got to go through the front door. You got to go in there and throw some stuff around for a while, not a week, a while, different W.
A while. It takes a while. I'm actually working with somebody, and you mentioned 2 things that he came to me with. And one was, and he's a physician, a very well-paid physician, surgeon. And he said, I want a 4-hour work week. Okay. And how do you plan to do that? Are you going to reduce surgery? He's like, no, I want to, start transitioning out, and I want to become a speaker, and I want to, provide customer service program. Well, okay. Well, that's possible. So we started going through all of this conversation, but the biggest thing that he did lack was the confidence.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's right.
I forget who I was listening to, but one of the things he was talking about, it was investing. And people say, well, how long does it take to make money trading stocks or to buy real estate or something? And he said his number was like, it'll take $50,000 to $100,000 and it'll take you about 5 years, same as college. Yeah. And people go, that sounds terrible. Right. He's exactly right. And they go, well, what costs $50,000? You making mistakes. Yeah. And that's the process. And so if you want a 4-hour work week, it's going to take you 4 years of build and a year of stabilizing. Right. There is a process. It doesn't take 40 years. That's industrial age nonsense. Right. If you want to transition, expect a 4 to 5 year process. And I can do this with anybody with a second grade education. And I've done this myself because I have a high school education, but I've started 43 companies and I know how to make this process work. That's what Unicornomics is all about. That process. There is a formula. Yes. The missing piece that nobody wants to talk about because it doesn't sell books is the work. That's what you got to do.
Exactly. And I have so many people coming to me, again, besides this physician, and saying, I want a 4-hour work week with nothing in the bank. And so, the first thing I tell people when they want to do that transition is we need to look at that. We need to know that you have that confidence that you're going to be able to work at this. And I tell them 3 to 5 years before you are going to get your overnight success. Basically, before you are going to get that return that you're expecting to see. So we want to make sure that we're putting those steps and process in place before they just jump overboard with no net. And I find it interesting. Yeah.
It's also fascinating when I hear people, and if you're thinking this right now, let me just tell you that it's not going to work. You can't just part-time a few hours here and there and get there over 5 years. Like, it's not going to happen. You have to literally, that you're on your path. I tell this to people all the time. You know what you're on your path towards freedom and financial freedom and that power. If you look like a crazy person for a few years to most of the people that are outside looking in, they're like, all you do is like, I wake up at 3:00 in the morning reading IRS code. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I just happen to believe in the ability of, I take information, simplify it, give it to people so they can execute on it. And so I look like a crazy person who wakes up at 3 a.m. Like my friend Tom Wheelwright doesn't do that. Okay, Connie does that, right? But when you do that, it shows an obsession and a conviction. And anybody that's ever done anything, created freedom, created a number 1 best-selling book or an album, they look like a crazy person until they're the best in the world. And then everybody goes, oh, amazing, overnight success, like you said. But it took crazy person land for a number of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna back up on that. I don't want to say I'm going to say person with conviction.
It's huge conviction. Let me just emphasize huge conviction. Yeah.
Because people already think that I'm crazy, insane. Because I've been at this starting in my 12th year, and you're always reinventing yourself. You're always trying to take it to the next level, take it to the next step, start another company. I have 4 of them now myself. I don't have your number, but
well, you mentioned something, Connie, about your show and how many listeners. You have millions of people listening. Yeah. And you had millions of people listening with your first show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's how it works. You just start and everything happens overnight.
Right. It just happened overnight, just like
let's be realistic about the transition. It takes time.
I actually 2 years ago, so I've been at this 5.5 years. This is just show number 345, I think. And actually 2 years ago, this December, 15, 16, no, it's December 15. So 3 years, a while. I quit podcasting. I was doing live radio, and I said, I quit. There's no return on this. Nothing is happening. It is going nowhere. I took a little break, spent it with my mom before she passed. And a dear friend of mine, I was helping him build out an online platform for podcasting. And he came back to me and he's like, well, you're on the show, right? He goes, you're my headliner. I was like, no. I was like, no. He's like, no, you have to be. You have to be. So that would be 2 years now that I've been doing that. And I came back and it just, I changed things, pivoted, looked at things differently, made different investments, and it just took off. But you have to do that. You have to be ready for that. You have to be prepared for those dips, in the valley when these things happen. But the other thing that you're saying too about having conviction. So I do. I look at myself. I mean, I've wrote books overnight because I'm up and I'm like, I got to get this message out to people. I got to do it. And I've wrote books overnight. So I seen recently, this is my new strategy. So I'm back in the gym. I am back doing yoga and I do Pilates and I'm doing some weightlifting now. And Mark Wahlberg, I'm following his strategy. He goes to bed 7:30 at night. He's up by 2 a.m. And rather than fighting himself to go back to sleep like I do, he just gets up. And he's up. He does his meditation. He does his yoga. He does his work. And he's ready for the day. And I'm like, I'm just going to do that strategy. That's my new strategy. This is why you're not fighting yourself. Like, why am I not sleeping? Why am I crazy? Why have all this stuff going on in my head? So that's a bit of my new strategy there. The Connie Fife Show is heard everywhere. You can find The Connie Fife Show on most of your favorite networks. It's time to now recognize and thank our major networks for all of their support. In the house, we have Conscious Business Radio, C-Suite Radio, Transformation Radio, iHeartRadio. We are also heard on Google Play, Apple Radio, Stitcher, and so many more that I just can't keep up with them all. I'm Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva. Learn more about our gym and how we can work together at my fancy schwanky website, ConnieFifeShow.com. I'll see you over there. Until then, like, share. Now back to the show. Going back to finances. And this is the biggest thing that I always get from people who either want to scale their business or they want to transition out. The biggest question that they're asking, again, and you talk about the money bondage, will I have enough?
Yep.
Will I have enough? So if we could leave our listeners with anything today, if we could leave them with that confidence of knowing that they have enough and when is enough. So do you have any comments or feedback on that?
Yeah. So the question is, if I were to say you have nothing right now and you can't go and you have no paycheck, and I was to say you have to create $100,000 in the next year, would you know how to do it? And let's assume that you can't have a job. You can't go get hired by somebody. You have to go do something. Or if you have to make up that money, do you know how to do it? Are you like, oh yeah, here's the formula. If you don't have that formula, and you don't have the conviction behind the formula, then you're never going to be free. It doesn't matter how much money you have. People say, well, if I have $4 or $5 million and I'm making 4%, like this FIRE movement, Susie Orman's jumping on this bandwagon, talking about this stuff. The problem is that's never real because you don't have the certainty in your ability to execute on it. You're always relying on somebody else, and it's never going to make you feel like, oh yeah, I've got control. It comes down to control, and the control comes from the confidence. So if you don't have that, your bridge into certainty around freedom is to find the confidence. How do you find it? You get people around you to ask questions, and you get people around you that have done it. And so you start adapting and molding and taking on their stuff. And ultimately you're going to say, yeah, take it all away. Just like Henry Ford said, when somebody said, what happens if we take it all away? He said, I'll have it back in 5 years.
Right.
No problem. Because he knew. That's what you need to be able to say. That's the transition into freedom. It has nothing to do with a 401k in the bank or some rental property. It has nothing to do with that. It's about your ability to adapt and create on demand.
Great. I mean, fabulous advice. And surrounding yourself with people that are going to support you. And I know, again, when I came out of corporate, I wasn't prepared. I thought I was going to continue, and it didn't happen. For about 2 years, I just kind of floated around interviewing for other jobs, and nothing was really happening. And I remember he saying, I could create my own business. I can create my own future and where I'm going to go. I'm going to take responsibility for that. And I hired a coach. And that coach said something very similar to me. He said, are you all in, or do you just have a toe in the water? Because if you just have a toe in the water right now, you are going nowhere. And that just triggered a switch in me. And I developed more confidence then than when I was a CEO in an organization.
The difference between the toe in the water and being all in is the difference between being on land or in the flow. And the problem with putting a toe in the water is you're still on the land. You're never actually going anywhere.
Right. You're not going anywhere.
I love what you said too. You've got to find people that are supporting you. And I'll take that a step further. If you have people that are supporting you that are just like you, that aren't actually where you want to be, you're going to continue to stay where you are. They're going to love on you, but they're going to keep you in the box. So if you're a corporate exec and you're moving into a land of something other than that, and all your friends and support are corporate execs, you're screwed. I'm telling you right now, they might love you, but you're not going to go anywhere because they're going to be fighting you because you disrupt their world purview. So you've got to find people that have already been there. You'll start adapting to them. And I know this is scary because you're going to start feeling a little funny and awkward because you're going to be evolving, and that's hard. So
it's very hard.
Yeah.
I just had goosebumps because I remember going through it because you're going into the land of the unknown. And even for me, it was, you were groomed for corporate. This is what you fought for all of these years, and you're walking away.
Yeah, and then people beat on you. They tell you you're a little nuts, like this is stupid. It's scary. You're going to make mistakes. What if you lose your money? What if it doesn't work? You'll be back. Like all these messages that people give.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My husband, when we were in the East Coast, and we had the big house, a big picket fence. We had parking lot in the driveway with us and all the kids, the country club, the yacht club. We sold it all. We moved to California. And, you should have heard some of the comments I got from that one.
Well, the funny part is, okay, so you had comments from people on the East Coast.
Yes.
And we're part of that. And then and then when you move, you end up in California and you get comments from people that are in that space that you're going to. They're radically different comments.
Oh my gosh.
Shift, right?
So
different worlds. So who are we listening to?
But what shift happened, and this is a big piece of learning that I also share too with my clients. When you change how you are looking at the world, your decisions, and you have that conviction, those naysayers, they're going to change and they're going to start looking at you differently, because it's so funny now. If I go home, it's like, Connie's coming home. She lives in Los Angeles. It's like, ooh.
People do. You're right. They do that. And the way that they do that is you have this burning focus on your life, the way it's going to be.
Right.
And how does that happen? By getting in the river. If you have a toe in the river, they're going to keep you on the shore.
You have to be all in.
Absolutely. That is the key. And I know it's scary. Here's the thing that I want to share though, about the whole idea of being scary. I grew up in Alaska. I've been to Africa. Those are the two places where you could potentially be eaten. Like I used to throw out the trash in the Arctic Circle, and a polar bear was out there. And if I didn't see him, he would kill me. Right. So that's a mistake that you can't come back from. Right. Most of what we're doing in life, unless you're in Alaska or Africa, is not going to eat you. So no matter what happens, it's just money, and you can make it up out of thin air, and you can make mistakes and learn from them. In fact, you should. So
you should. Your biggest learning are your mistakes.
That's why we have them. It's a gift from freaking God. Like, it's
and I've made them, and I know, and you talk about it, and you talk about it too, that you speak to the ultimate life failure. And again, without that, we would not be learning. So we could write a book just on that.
That is the ultimate hell, is when you meet the person that you could have been. And that is regret. There's no discipline that will be as painful as the regret looking back and saying, oh, damn, I've had that experience. I had it with my dad a few weeks before he died. He looked at me and he said, there were so many things that I wanted to do.
Yes.
You want to talk about getting your heart broken. Somebody that doesn't have time, that didn't take the risk because they were afraid of the judgment or the mistake or falling down. That's not where you want to be. That is hell on earth.
No, that is not. And my mom was that way too before she passed. She's like, I'm not done yet. And she had cancer, and she was still going out line dancing and going out with the ladies. And she went to Alaska. She did a cruise to Alaska with her lady friend. She just kept saying, I'm not done yet. She didn't care how sick she was. She was going. She was like, I'm going.
Good role model for everybody listening. Go for it. Book your life. Go on the cruise. Go do your thing. This whole I'm going to live someday is crazy.
Yeah. There was another woman who she met, a younger woman, through their cancer support group. And the woman basically, had herself in the ground already. And my mother, I remember seeing her do it. And she just grabbed her. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? She goes, you're alive, you're breathing. She goes, get your ass off that chair. This is how my mom talked. And she said, just get your ass off that chair and get out and do something. And she went to Alaska with them on their trip. Yeah. Yeah.
Those type of things, I don't think we don't regret what we do. We regret what we didn't do. That's the difference. We learn from what we do. We feel stupid. I mean, I think back 20 years ago, I'm like, dang it. If I was to go back, I'd fail faster. I would ask the pretty girl at the bar out instead of going, oh, maybe she'll think I'm stupid or ugly or dumb or whatever. Like, I would actually have done these things because I was so afraid of a damn bear eating me wherever I was hesitating.
And that's what we all are. That's what we're all are. I would love to continue this conversation. This is a fantastic conversation. A couple questions that we always ask our guests on the hot seat is, so the first one is, what makes you unstoppable?
I don't look backwards. And I act faster than anybody I know on decisions. That's what, you can't stop that. In fact, everybody in my life is basically chasing it if they're trying to figure out what's going on, because that's the difference between me and most of the population. It's unstoppable when you're in action and in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And I mean, that's how I got the title, because stuff happened and I just went, okay, just step over that and keep going. And people just started calling me that. And so I was like, you got to do what you got to do. So this one, I always ask this one, it's, where do you believe the world's greatest wound is coming from?
A lack of self-responsibility. I think we are bleeding from an abdication of responsibility on our lives, and we've become victims by large. And I think that is degrading society because we're pointing fingers. And the moment it's the Helen Keller saying, be the change you wish to see in the world. Yes. And the first step in that is owning everything about your life. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's a hurricane, or my friends in Alaska that had the earthquake, your house blows down, you get raped, whatever it is, own the experience, because you get to choose that. That's the shift into you owning your life.
And that's your experience, again, to take with you and stop pointing the fingers. We're definitely bleeding there. I hope we can come to a resolve somewhere. I mean, we just need to. We just have to. So you have so much going on. So will you ever be satisfied?
When I'm dead, I will be done. And until then, we're not meant to be retired. We're not meant to be in status quo. There is no flatline homeostasis. Either you're growing or you're dying. Right. So I am not going to stop growing until I'm done breathing. and satisfied. I'm sad. I love every day. So is it that I'm done? No, I'm just in love with the process.
Love that. So I know you have the book. And so again, people can text unicorn to 72,000, and you're going to send them some workbooks and some information there that'll help them find that courage that they're in confidence.
It's the questions, it's just, I'm going to give you the questions based on my experience and how you find your answers. They're in you. I promise they're inside of you. Somebody will ask you the right questions. This is going to be the questions that you need in life. I promise.
Yeah. As I say, don't die with that fire still burning inside you. Get it out. And then your book, you have a book coming out. I think it's within the next day or two. You have a book coming out. So how can people get a copy of that?
Yeah, Unicornomics. You can go to go to your browser and type Unicornomics, or go to Amazon. But Unicornomics is the essence of building something, whether you're starting from scratch or you're building up and you're already in that thing. It's your life, and it's a roadmap and a blueprint and a process that I've learned through starting more than 40 companies, what it's really like. And if you miss these steps, you're literally going to pay a price. And this is if you want a hack, here's your hack. This is reality. It is the hack inside this book.
Wow. So do you have unicorns like all over the place?
Yeah. I'm riding one to work.
Got it parked outside.
That's right.
Holstered up. Well, I've really enjoyed having you on the show. Would love to have you back again anytime. You are always welcome back.
Well, I appreciate that, Connie. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody listening. I hope you guys get a ton to run with. And here's the final takeaway. Do something. Whether you just download this thing and read one page, do something. Don't just let this flitter and fade. There is something you can do with your life. It's not a passive event. It's an active event. Do something today with what you just learned. Love that.
Remember, it's an active event, and you need to be active in it. And that's what we talk, we're all about activating your passion, because we're moving ideas forward, and we are keeping the passion of life activated. And remember, we have some awesome feature advertising available. So check it out on the website at ConnieFifeShow.com. And our team, I have a fabulous team. I have to tell you, they're all over the globe. My right-hand person, Sophia, she bounces between the U.S. and Barcelona. Love her to death. But if you have any questions at all about our advertising and about how we can help you activate your transition and do it smoothly so you do have that confidence to grow, just reach out to our team, because they are dedicated to working with executives who want to make that transition from the C-suite to their next career as a lifestyle entrepreneur. And remember, we are all unstoppable together. I'll leave you with this bit of thought, which is all money is a matter of belief. All money is a matter of belief, and that was said by Adam Smith. But that is so true. When you believe in that lifestyle and what you do, and get this information from Damien and find that courage, that money will be your matter of belief. So you're listening to the Connie Fife Show, and if you like what you're hearing and you want to be a guest, give us a shout out, and be sure to like and share us with your friends and your colleagues, and subscribe with us on iTunes. And until next time, activate your power. And again, we are all unstoppable together. Hey y'all, it's Connie Fife. Thank you for listening to the Connie Fife Show. Check back often. You don't want to miss any of the good stuff. If you like what you hear and would like to be a guest on the show, head over to theConnieFifeShow.com to apply. While you're there, check out our amazing advertising opportunities that will put you right in front of your perfect client. I will see you over there. Do yourself a favor this week, activate your power, and be unstoppable together.